All right, everybody, welcome to our week 2 Diesel Nation Olympics call with none other than Sami Glonek. I will be turning it over to her right away. I don't want to waste any time, but I've got to give you guys the rundown on points so far. 1 week in, counting the September Success Club points that we already took into account. Where's Team Blue? Where's Team Blue? You guys are in the freaking lead, 198 points. You guys had a diamond pop. I think is Kim on that team. Kim came out swinging with like 54 points. It was ridiculous. She regained rank in one of her CBCs. She might be in red. I'm not sure. But red, you're in second place. Where's Team Red? Team Red came out guns blazing, 190 points, you guys. That's phenomenal. My team, Team Black, don't worry, we're coming. We're coming. Like, we're coming. 168 points for us. And then Team Yellow at 108, and Team Green, who was in the lead, by the way. Team Green was in the lead coming into October, is now in last place. And I don't mean to rub this in or throw salt on a wound, but you are now in last place, Team Green, and you better start making some moves and pop some diamonds so that you guys can move on up. No audio? Ooh, can you guys hear me? I should have asked that. Yeah, okay. I mean, I did see you guys like raise your hands, so I was like, okay, good, thank God. All right, you guys, we're 1 week in, and I know we had some people say, no points on the board yet, and what I suggested was instead of just saying 0 and woe is me, that we turn up the energy and then say, I don't have any points yet, but this is how I'm going to change it. And I'm going to do X, Y, Z and share 3 things that you're going to do and implement right now to get some points on the board, whether that's some successive points, whether that's advancing, whether it's reaching down into your coaches and sharing with them Becky's recording from the Emerald Decide to Rise call that she hosted last night, or whatever it is. Remember, the nature of this whole competition, it's been a lot of fun so far, but it's to get us super hyper intentional with the stuff that grows a business, because our team is great at hitting Success Club, but I feel like that's all we do. We just hit Success Club. We don't push goals. We don't push rank advancements. We don't push all the stuff that I know in the last 8 years of my business has helped me grow this business, right? To not keep it stagnant. So I want you guys to do the stuff that builds a business. And that's being really intentional, not only in your daily activities, not only in starting challenge groups, but recruiting and then duplicating. And that's the nature of the Diesel Nation Olympics. So you guys, just wanted to say that. And now, without further ado, I want to bring on someone that I've been watching secretly. She doesn't know this, but I have. I'm a stalker. I'm a huge student of learning what newer coaches are doing, right? Because I'm like a dinosaur in the business at this point. We had this quick story at Leadership. They separated all the coaches with their years, and Becky and I were sitting like with like the grandparents of Team Beachbody, and I'm like, where did time go? We're in the 8 to 9 year table. I don't know, crazy. But Sami's like all the way on the other side of the room, crushing her business as a newer coach, which is super inspiring to me. And I've been learning from her. And since she was on the National Wake Up Call, I was like, this girl knows what she's talking about. She's in business with her sister. And I have a special place in my heart for that. So without further ado, 2018 elite coach, 6-star in her first business center, 1-star in her second business center, diamond in her third business center, and a Success Club legend, Miss Sami Glonek.
Can you hear me? Good? Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna actually share a little presentation with you guys, because I don't know if you guys are visual people, but I'm somebody who has a little bit of ADD, so if you see me like squirrel, you'll see me, I have to have something in front of me to learn. But I'm just going to get right into that and tell you a little bit about where I've been in this journey and how I got to Beachbody, and then share a little bit about how my team has been really, really strong with recruiting this year. So without further ado, hopefully you guys can see this because I can't see you. So you're putting in the chat, I don't know where that is. But so a little bit about my story. My sister has been a coach for, I think, 5 years now. And not going to give you the whole spiel, but just say that I was your most skeptical person when it comes to Beachbody. And if you heard my National Wake Up Call, that's about what it was. I was going the dental route. I was going to dental school. There was no ifs, ands, and buts about that. I knew since I was 12 years old what I wanted to do. And when I got denied a dental school, actually 3 times, I am faith-based. So I felt like in my, world, it was God kind of pushing me to Beachbody. And I was very much resistant of this a whole community. And it was something that actually Christina and her sister said at, summit, my first summit, I went just to work out with Shaun T. That was the only reason. And it was to tell my sister to just kind of like get off, like stop bothering me about this business that I wasn't going to work. And they were speaking at Summit, and it wasn't even necessarily the content. The content was incredible, but it was like their way of interacting with each other, that they had this special bond. And, if you guys have a sibling, there's something about siblings that just speaks volumes of anything else. And I looked at my sister and I said, it's time. It's time. And so that was 2015, if I remember right. And I've never missed Success Club since then. But through trials of this business, like we all go through, I went through what I call like seasons of this business. And in the beginning, it was, how do I hit Success Club? And, I went through all of the different trials to kind of figure out what I needed to do that. And it sounds like you guys are great at this. So I moved towards the next season of my business, and it was recruiting, or what people just onboarding, or whatever name you want to give it, but it's bringing on new coaches. And this was something that I had basically studied. So it was something that in my nature, being a science major, I got my master's in health science. I like to find all of the little things to kind of add up to the bigger thing. And that was why I didn't want to do Beachbody for so long, because I wanted all the little pieces. If you've ever had a prospect that tells you no, 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 and they're like the perfect coach, that was me. Not that I'm the perfect coach, but it was all the puzzle pieces, and I just wasn't putting it together. And that's how I felt about recruiting as well. And it was something I was pretty resistant of, because I didn't want to be salesy and I didn't want to push this on people. And so what I did was I classified recruiting as different classes, and that helped me break this down a lot more. So the first class is emotional recruiting, and this is probably my favorite part of the whole business. Yes, it's a thing. And so I want you guys to think about when you're posting on social media and you are going out there and talking to the world about Beachbody, people want to know you're a real person. And so it's something to be said about people who really bring emotion to their Instagram and Facebook, because remember, it's social media. People are very skeptical. Exhibit A. I wanted to know that this Beachbody community was real, rather than a bunch of people that like to work out. And so go back to really, we talk about this all the time. What made you sign up with your coach? But pinpoint that. I'm assuming that you signed up with that person because you felt like they were your friend. And so when I went back and looked at that, I looked at what my Instagram felt like the most engagement was found in. And so what I found was that when I shared the real and raw things of my life, it was because I put emotion behind it. So if you'll see that first top photo, it was one of my diamond coaches, and she actually had signed up with me. She quit the business, never really did anything, came back a year later and hit diamond in 3 months. And in this time, I had known her for over 2 years, and we stayed friends. And she actually helped me build my original diamond, which most of those people are not around. So she like just had a special place in my heart. And my boyfriend is in optometry school. So most of the Beachbody events that you get a +1 to, he can never go to because he has clinic. So I asked her to be my +1. So we actually met in Mexico for the very first time outside of the resort. And so that moment I handed my phone to somebody else, and I wanted them to capture this moment. And that photo blew up because people felt my emotion. The second photo on the right, if you guys don't really know much about my story, I suffer with a lot of different forms of anxiety. It's more so anxiety versus depression, but I've struggled with that as well. And it's not something I post a lot about because I felt like I was bringing on a lot of people with anxiety, which if you have that, it flares more. But I showed up every single day for the last 4 years on Instagram. I have never missed a day. We've had deaths in the family. I have been out of the country and paid my friend because I wasn't sure if I was going to have Wi-Fi to post. So I planned all these posts out for her. And I made sure that every single day I post. But when you have anxiety and it's just crippling, you don't really have anything to post. And so I was trying to take selfies, trying to find something inspirational. And I just put my head in my hand. And I was just like, this is my life. And I made a post about how I was overcoming it rather than just dwelling in it, because social media, if you put out negativity, you're going to bring in negativity. So I put a positive spin on it. But that post blew up. Whether people agreed with me or they were supporting me, or I had messages or people who had suggestions of how to get through it, it was emotional. And then the bottom photo was a happy moment. It was when our team hit elite this time for the first year. And last year was a very hard year for my team. And we actually, quarter four came in, and we just put the pedal to the metal, and we hit elite almost the very last week we could qualify. And so when I had corporate send me that Zoom video, we got on a Zoom call, I handed my phone again to somebody to capture my reaction. And so that photo blew up as well. It was something that made people feel like we are friends and that they're not missing out on the highlights and lows of my life. And I'm not saying you need to go out there and post everything, but people gravitate towards emotion. It's something to be said about that. Think about 2 examples came to mind on my Instagram other than these moments that I really felt like had blown up. And one was, I don't know if you guys are like this or not, but I get really attached, I think because I have anxiety. I get really attached to movies and shows and books. So if there's a storyline and I get attached to it, I just am sucked into the world. I'm a Harry Potter lover, so I was like sucked into Harry Potter, always have been. And I'm not sure if you've ever watched the show Glee, but the main character dies in real life from an overdose. And he's about my age and maybe even a couple years older, but similar age. And I knew this episode was happening. And so when I watched it in college, I stopped before it happened. But they do a tribute episode to him. And I was just waterworks, just bawling. And so I went for a walk after this show, after this episode, and I kind of talked to my Instagram about, I don't know why this happens to me, but I'm so wrapped up and I'm so sad that somebody had their life taken so short. Again, Instagram blown up. People who agreed, people who supported, people who understood. And it also was that attraction marketing of people who bonded to me outside of health and fitness. And then the second thing was a little bit different emotion. But when I moved to California, I moved from the Midwest. I didn't know that you can just walk across the street here and people have to stop. I'm just a law here. So I'm very much into good manners. I can't stand when people don't say please and thank you. It's probably my biggest pet peeve. So when I let somebody walk across the street, I'm expecting a courtesy wave. Or when I let someone into the lane, courtesy wave. It's totally fine if you go, but just, thank you. And so I went on my Instagram kind of just heated. And I'm like, did you, grow up in a box? Or did you grow up on a farm? Like what? Who taught you these things of not to say please and thank you? And again, emotion, it blew up. So, people are usually following 3 to 5 coaches. And so what's going to separate you is your story and your emotion. It's not just about the 3 to 5 things that make you you. And so what I do with my coaches is I encourage you guys to do this. Take a blank sheet of paper and separate the blank sheet of paper by sadness, things that make me angry, happiness, extreme joy, in different categories. And as you go through your week, write down those things. Write down those things that make you feel that emotion. It can be something super small. Maybe you saw an old couple and they were holding hands and that just warmed your heart. Put that in your happy category. It's little things like that that are going to bring stories to your Instagram. And if you guys, I'm sure Christina was going to talk about a, leadership kind of summary, but we talked about storytelling. This is a very easy way to bring in storytelling because this is how people see that you are a real person. And the cool thing about all of this is you're never going to feel salesy. This is you diving way further into your brand than you ever have before. And one of my top coaches said to me the other day, people want to feel like they're not watching you, they're experiencing it with you. So last thing on this slide is this is a very simple example, but when I get a package in the mail, I can either show the tank top that I bought or I can unbox it with my followers. I can unbox it in an Insta story and they're going to feel like they're in the room with me, experiencing it with me. I can go on date night with Adam and I can talk about how great the date night was and how the restaurant food was amazing. Or I can Insta story us walking in, show them what we're eating, maybe fan the camera back up to him, have him say just a couple words. He's not a social media person like I am, but he'll still contribute a couple words. And people love that because it sounds weird, but they feel like they're on the date with us. Coaching is similar to dating. They want to feel like you're a real person, and that if you're not bringing emotion to the table, you're just another Beachbody coach. And so that's class 1. Class 2 is intentional recruiting. So I talked a little bit about this on the National Makeup Call, but what I realized when I was going from this Success Club to recruiting phase of my business is people didn't really know I was a coach. They knew I loved fitness, and they knew I loved Nike, and they knew I had a boyfriend, but they didn't really know what I did as a coach. And I didn't want to go out there and scream Beachbody. And so I'm assuming you guys are the same thing. And so what I've tried to do is breadcrumb coaching in pretty much every area of my life so that I'm solving problems that they haven't voiced to me. And so when I would talk about my challenge groups, I never said challenge groups. I changed it to accountability groups, and someone even asked me the other day what a boot camp was. And he said, well, is that an in-person like fitness class that you run? And it was a light bulb moment that I, again, needed to go back and explain what I do in these groups on Facebook, because people don't get it. They don't understand. They don't understand what you're doing at a team call. I had never ran a webinar or been on a webinar ever before coaching. And so if someone would have said a webinar, I really wouldn't have had any idea what they were talking about. And so when you're breadcrumbing PD, no one knows what PD is. So explain what even personal development is. Maybe you need to talk about being a self-help book in Barnes & Noble section. It's something about really breaking down so that your whole audience knows exactly what you do. And then when you get them into a coaching sneak peek, their only objection is price and maybe time. It's not necessarily what you do isn't good for them, or they don't think they could do it, because they already know what you do. And so one of the things my brother-in-law, Steve, had said to me once is, this whole concept of be here in 1 year. And to me, I thought that was such a bland topic. Okay, so I'll be here in a year, but what does that actually mean? And so what he said to me, he's very much the analytical personality in this business. And so he said to me, Sami, last week, if you were to write yourself a paycheck, what do you deserve? And at that time, I was probably like, I don't know, $300. And he said, well, that's what you're getting paid next year. And my mind was blown. I was just like, what? And so that made me work harder than ever now. So if you're putting in hours and hours and you feel like you're just spinning your wheels, you're not spinning your wheels, lady. You are getting paid next year. And so that concept of being here in 1 year is so much deeper than just showing up on social media every day. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the effort. You got to put in your emotion. And so what I was doing is I was hiding in the shadows of posting, and I was going through the motions of, call to action. And then I would do some type of post about maybe pre-workout. And then I would post about Adam. And it was just like, I didn't really have intention behind what I was doing. And so what I kind of started doing was creating some type of schedule. Nothing super organized, nothing I had to follow, because I felt like if I followed a strict schedule, then I was forcing posts. And so when, there's something to be said about intentional versus strict schedule, but I needed to be more intentional with what I was putting out there because of this concept. When I first started getting into this whole idea of recruiting, I was like, I love coaching. Coaching is great. Coaching has changed my life. And you know what kind of personality I brought into my business? I love coaching. Coaching is great. And I didn't have any business builders, but they all loved coaching, which is great. But when you're trying to be intentional with bringing in business builders and bringing in people that are going to work, you got to talk about the work too. And so, the things that I start posting about brought in a different market, because not that I needed to talk about all the time how hard this business is, but yeah, if you're putting in time before work, you need to talk about that. If you are, once in a great while stressed out, explain that to them. Today's been a really hard day, but I got this message from my client, blah, blah, blah. You can make it a positive spin, but then you're going to start attracting people that are ready to work like you. If you're only just super happily and bubbly, that's why you got to show these other emotions as well. So when I'm very much a love language or personalities type in this business. If you guys have never done any type of personality quiz or anything, I really highly recommend it. I love the love language book. I love the 16 personalities. And I also love, what's it called? Personality Plus. That book is a little bland, but it's super important for your business. And so I loved it. Kind of helped me see that not everybody is just like me and is going to be motivated by the same things. And so what motivates you about coaching? For me, the trips are everything. So I need to be talking about the trips. And if you've never been on one, talk about your coach going on those trips. Show what you're working towards, because that's what's going to be attractive to those people. Again, quality time. Maybe you're not a quality time person. Maybe you'd rather focus on something like words of affirmation, but people are attracted to quality time. So talk about your one-on-one calls with your coaches and clients, or maybe your upline. Team calls, that's a great thing as well. You need to be talking about those things. Every part of the love language, you need to be experiencing it to your followers so that they know that when they sign up as a coach, their love language and their personality is going to be completely fulfilled. And it's not just you. And then one of the things that I feel like I hear all the time about my coaches is they say, well, I'm boring, Sami. I go to work, I come home, I make my dinner, I work out before or after work, I read my PD, and then I go to bed. How can I post about that every single day? The cool thing is, that's what most people do. You are the most relatable person out there. Not everybody is going to be living the top coach's life. Even me doing this full time now, that's not as relatable to people who work full time as the people who work full time and they get to explain how they fit this into their busy schedule. You're never boring. You have your emotions. You are a living person. You are relatable, and that is key. Focused recruiting. This was class number 3. And so, this is something I learned more recently than ever, because I'm 5'2", 118 pounds. That is a very distinct group of people. I am not married. I do not have kids. And what I realized was I was attracting people who were maybe engaged, didn't have kids. But I wasn't attracting any of the moms, and I watched my sister attract a huge group of moms. And so I realized that I needed to show my audience that there's not one size fits all. So whether you have 0 people on your team or you have, your huge upline team, start finding people that can fit into your jelly beans. And yes, I use Starburst jelly beans because those are my favorite. If you're going to eat jelly beans, they have to be Starburst. But Starbursts all taste different. They all have a different flavor. I'm also on Transform 20, so I really miss candy. But M&Ms, I don't know if you think they taste different. I sure don't. They might have different colors, but they're all very much the same chocolate flavor. And so you have to show those other jelly beans. You have to show that there's moms on your teams. You have to show that there's people that are a completely different size. My top coach is 5'10" and 180 pounds. I don't know how I attracted her, but the rest of my team is completely short. And so it's funny to watch that, but now I've been posting more about her, and I have a coach that's going to be diamond soon, and she's a mom, and I have newlyweds, and all these different types of personalities, so that people see that there is not one size fits all. Because if you get those people in your sneak peeks, of course we tell them, oh, you'll be great at this, you don't need to have your goal body, but you need to show them that they don't need their goal body as well. Always have something to invite to. This was hard because I'm very much planner. And so I had, my coaching sneak peek this weekend, and then I had another one at this time of the month. But what I realized was I didn't have something always. So whether it was a free group, a challenge group, or a coaching sneak peek, I needed something so that if I talked to somebody 4 days after my coaching sneak peek, I either added them to the past one or I added them to the next one. But if there was a gap of more than 4 or 5 days, they were going to go MIA. If you make people wait for that long, what I've noticed in my journey is either A, they're like me and they're squirrel, the personality is gone. Or 2, maybe they have a flat tire and now they're not going to sign up as a group because you made them wait. Not that, obviously you prioritize, business, or you prioritize your car over, coaching, but you need to get that impulsive personality, and I'll talk about that in a second. But, I always hear what if I only have one person in my coaching sneak peek? Well, think about this. I was one coach Jamie waited for a year. One coach, and now my team has over 850 coaches. So one person can make you retire. It's not about quality, or it's about quality, not quantity. And you don't need 45 people in a coaching sneak peek to make it a great coaching sneak peek. That's not the goal. The goal is to get your people who are ready to freaking change the world, and one person can do that. And the thing is we get that impulsiveness and we get really upset when people don't join us. But the thing is most people take 5 to 7 months to sign up. And I took longer than that. And I'm one of my sister's top coaches. I took a year with my own sister, okay? So don't get discouraged. People are not going to jump on your train right away. We want to, but I think the hardest thing in this business is we're ready before they're ready for themselves. And we get frustrated with that, and we use that as a reflection of ourselves, when in actuality, they're going to come. They're going to come back, whether they were skeptical or it was a money thing or they have family stuff going on, they're going to come off. So at the end of the day, just prove to them what you're missing, and you're putting out there what you're going to get back. And so if you're putting out there that they're missing something, they're going to come back. I came back. And I used to think Shakeology was a joke before I drank it. And then soon enough, I realized what I was missing, because she was proving to me that what I was doing was not going to get me to where I wanted to go. And that this support system, this shake was going to help my IBS, and this community was going to change my life. And it took time, but it was worth it. And so if you're somebody who's getting really discouraged and you're getting really upset with your journey, what I suggest for you, and this is something I love to do from time to time when I'm just in a funk and PD isn't really helping, is 100 no's challenge. And I team up with one person, usually my success partner, and we will shoot for 100 no's as fast as we can. Because you're always affirming yourself that you're moving forward. And you're like, yep, got another no, yep, got another no, rather than dwelling every single no that you get, so that when you do have 100 no's, you're going to find yeses in there. And that's going to be a victory, and it's a win-win situation. So really, those are the 3 classes, and the best tips for success towards building your business, building a recruiting team, building where you want to go in this business is focus on your weakness one at a time. And I can't stress this enough, because we try to do all of the things. We try to grow our social media. We try to make the best challenge groups. We try to get to all of the events, and all of these different things are going on, and it's just like we shut down. And then all of a sudden we think we suck at everything. When if you just focus on one weakness at a time and you master it, then you can move on with confidence. And that's kind of how I went. I went with Instagram. Then I got comfortable with Instagram. Then I went into free groups, which helped me hit Success Club. Then I went into this topic of recruiting. Now I feel like I'm really strong in recruiting. So my next goal is to start growing from my emeralds to diamonds. And that's been my current focus. And it's been working because I slowly evolved. And it's not something you're going to learn overnight. But if you focus heavily and you watch training and you study and you Google and you do all these things about something you're struggling with, you're going to freaking master it. And yeah, eventually you might have to come back and adapt because everything's evolving, but you're going to feel so confident and you're not going to feel so drained at the end of the day that you're just horrible at everything, because that is not true. Another thing I suggest is finding a success partner opposite of you. So this was something that I did about a year ago when I was really struggling with my business, because I wasn't really into the whole personality thing yet. So I just assumed everybody was skeptical. I felt like everybody around me was going to just hate Beachbody the way I did. And what I realized was I was that opposite person. So I found my sister. Actually, she was my best friend because it took me a year to sign up, and she went under Jamie, and now she's a star diamond coach under Jamie. So I teamed up with her because she's very impulsive. And she taught me that not everybody is going to be skeptical, and she would just send all the information in the first email. And I would wait, and I would talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and then bring it up the email. So now I've kind of met in the middle, but I've learned so much from that whole scenario of working with her, because she taught me that not everyone's going to be the same. And then especially I'm somebody who wants to continually affirm myself, especially because I am more words of affirmation than anything else, but create daily goals so you don't get discouraged along the way. And so if you are shooting for diamond, or you're shooting for superstar, or you're shooting for elite, or whatever it is, if you're focused so heavily on that goal, you're going to get really discouraged along the way, because that's the only thing that you're going to feel like success. And if you're shooting for elite and you end at 4-star, you're going to look at that as discouraging. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to look at every day, and they can be something super small. Maybe you need to do X amount of reach outs a day. Maybe you need to do X amount of follow-ups a day, so that you are continually working towards this big goal, but affirming yourself that you're moving forward. Every day, ask yourself, would you sign up with you? That's something I ask myself every day. Was my social media, was my challenge groups, was my sneak peeks, would I have signed up with myself today? Did I bring the energy? Or did I just go through the motions of, oh, I'm drained and I'm really struggling with coaching and my challenge groups, I'm not really bringing that energy. Like, You got to bring the fire to get the fire, guys. And then the second to last thing is VIP membership. And this is something one of my other coaches taught me, because I think it's amazing that we learn from each other. But if you're having people hit Success Club, you can easily get discount coaches. Easily. And what she did was she had developed a VIP membership, and she called it that because she didn't want to say the word coach and people were getting scared. So she called it a VIP membership. She put together, this isn't it, but like a little water bottle with her team logo. So she sent a decal. She sent a packet of Energize, I think a packet of Shaco, and then maybe one little thing from Target from the dollar section. So she probably spent $5 to $10 on this little package. And every person that joined her team, she put in this, PS page, or personally sponsored group page. And that was her VIP members. And it was her way of building her team to diamond. And it worked flawlessly. Her first group, she signed 8 discount coaches, all that would have signed up as clients. And so, obviously you can put your own spin on that, but I think that delivery is just something not to be ignored because it's super important. And then figure out which jelly bean you're going to be, because every single one matters. Carl was one jelly bean. He brought one thing to the table, and look at what he developed. Same thing with Shaun T. Shaun T has a gift, and look how many people he's changed. And so why are you any different? Why are you and what you have to offer any different than Carl, Shaun T, Autumn, Christina, me, Becky? Like, there's nothing that separates us except you have your story. And people are going to sign up for you because of your emotions and your intentions, and you are going to build a team because you wanted to build this team. So again, you're capable of doing amazing things, and that is what I built a business on. Do you guys have any questions?
Dude, where'd you go? There you are. Oh my God. Like, I wrote it in the chat. This is probably the best recruiting call I've heard in years and years. So you guys, do you agree with that? Like, I told them, like, I need this call shared with the entire organization. Thank you so much for preparing that, for sharing all of that. The tips were spot on, easy to follow. Like, right? Do you guys agree with that? Do you guys have any questions? I know, what time is it? It's 1:32. Maybe one question, because I don't want to make these calls too long, so I really want people engaged with them. Does anyone have a question? You want to type it out or anything? I don't know. I'm just like, I want to go share the recording right now. It's so good. Anyone? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. How about I ask you this, and then maybe someone can come up with another question. On average, well, that's a really good question, Paula. Let's go to Paula's question. How do you expand your followers? How is it that you're attracting people to your Instagram account?
Honestly, I feel like this is like, if I had a perfect answer for you, I would tell you. I think this is the most asked question out of any person I've ever signed up. And I wish I could say that there was like a secret sauce. I'll be honest with you. As of recently, I tried to outsource my Instagram just to see if those things work. And I thought I got hacked. So I shut it down, and I will never outsource my Instagram again. It was only for 2 weeks. I just wanted to see if that would work for my coaches, and I didn't want them to pay anybody until I knew if it worked or not. And so that is not the route I would say. I would say I built 40,000+ followers on strictly sharing my journey and being consistent every day using different hashtags. So if you have a category, like, find hashtags obviously targeted to you, and there's a related section. So say you're going to look up, don't use this hashtag because it's all Beachbody coaches, but like dog mom. You're going to find related hashtags in that you can kind of click around and see if those people are you. Another thing I definitely recommend is collaborating with brands. So for example, I actually built my Instagram on being a completely Nike brand. It was very different than what I am now. And I would tag every Nike domain I could possibly find. And at the time, Instagram was a little bit different because it would show up in the follower or the explore feed, and it would say, Short Girl Fitness liked, and it would show the photos I liked. And so Nike actually liked a couple of my photos, and overnight I would grow like 3,000 followers. And Amy Rada, she's on my sister's team as well, and she did this with Beachbody. And although she grew thousands of followers of Beachbody, they're still followers, and they're still looking super credible on her account. I know we always say, like, I don't want to attract coaches, but to me, guys, coaches are the best followers because they're the ones engaging on everything. We're the ones scrolling social media all day. So collaborating in brands, tagging companies, and then I always use locations. in your stories and in your posts. So if you're just doing anything in your story, even if you hide the hashtag, you can put it behind text and you do like hashtag, I don't even know, we'll go back to dog mom. It's going to show up in the dog mom hashtag. And I've gotten so many followers. I went to college in Michigan. And one time I did that with the location of where I was at, and it was in the college story, the city of the college, and Michigan story. And I got a bunch of followers from that. So there's something to be said about using those things. But in 2 minutes or less, that's how I do it.
I'll just add here that this is like the #1 question. In fact, at leadership, there was some speakers and the top coaches were talking, and some of these are very high recruiting coaches. I talk 50 people, right? Like nothing that I've ever done, which is crazy. And everyone was like, well, how do they do it? And I just got to say, she just told you how they're finding people. They're doing the work. They're figuring out the hashtags. They're taking a second to say, okay, who am I and how can I capitalize? They're doing the, I'm big into Rent the Runway. So I'm always tagging, every time I wear a dress, it's Rent the Runway, Rent the Runway. I wear the headbands that the girl sends me, so she puts me in her stories. I send Autumn every transformation picture I have so that she puts me in her stories. Shanti just asked for videos, and you better believe I'm like, get me on Shanti's Instagram stories. So take advantage of these opportunities. Autumn loves to repost transformation pictures. Put them up on your IG stories, tag her, and then maybe she'll get you in. I am telling you that there's a lot of people that are not coaches that follow Autumn. You know what I mean? So you got to take advantage of those opportunities. Figure out what are the brands that you love. Go to their Instagram pages. Go to their followers and start looking at their followers. And those little pictures, you can really tell, yeah, that girl's part of my tribe, or that dude looks really cool. I think I would, you know what I mean? And do the work. You just got to do the work. We need to stop talking about it. Keep, and go out there and like really do this. Sylvia, Isis, you asked about the being skeptical. I'm gonna say go listen to her national wake up call. That was her call. That's what made me fall in love with the Glonek. Now you guys know why I'm in love with the Glonek. She's amazing. And so, okay, I think that's it. We're gonna end right there. It was perfect, Sami. Thank you very, very much. You guys show all the love on her page and on her Instagram. Go hit follow so she gets more followers. Any last words, Sami? That was so perfect.
I would just say, guys, like, the more you overthink it, the less you're going to act on it. And that was me to a T. I would overthink my post, my caption, my Instagram algorithm, my free groups. Go out there and try. And if it flops, the cool thing is you get to try again. And that is really how I built a business. So just keep trying and failing forward.
Amen. Okay, let's take a quick picture, everybody. And I don't know if you're going to come out, but if you're on, just smile. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. Awesome, you guys. Thank you, Sami. I really appreciate it. Great call. I will talk to everybody real soon, and I'll be sharing the recording as soon as it's up. Got to go work out. See you in 20. Bye.